Hello, lawyers and law students. I'm Catherine Mason, the director of Cambridge Law Studio. You're here to learn legal vocabulary, so download your free Legal English PDF today. The link is in the description, and you'll get all the vocabulary that I'm teaching here and more, with some practice sentences and an answer key, the most important thing of all. Welcome to our quick legal vocabulary class. Binding. Lawyers use the legal English word binding to describe a valid contract. It means a contract that a court will recognise as valid and that there will be legal consequences if the parties do not fulfil their obligations. For example, if I agree to meet you at the cinema tonight at 7 o'clock, that is not a binding contract. That is just a social agreement between us. In other words, to be a binding contract, an agreement must contain all of the legal elements of a contract. Let's say a little bit more. In your country, when you studied law, or if you're studying law now, you will get a list of things necessary to make a contract. If a court will recognise it as a contract, it's binding. But if it's meet me at the cinema, it's not. It's just an agreement, a non-binding agreement. In another video, we'll do all the legal elements of a contract, but today is just explaining binding. The verb to bind in legal English therefore means to force someone to keep a promise. If the law sees an agreement that meets all the requirements of a legal contract, the law will describe that contract as a binding contract or a binding agreement. What's the difference between a contract and an agreement? There isn't one. They're synonyms, so don't worry. They don't mean different things. If an agreement or a contract is binding, it means the law will force you to keep that promise. It won't force me to meet you at the cinema at 7 o'clock, but it will force me to keep a promise in a binding agreement. Here are two example sentences. Your client signed a binding agreement, and we will take legal action if he does not fulfill his obligations. Second sentence. The non-disclosure agreement dated the 10th of October is binding upon the parties, and we will seek an injunction from the court if your client speaks to the media. Just to explain that second sentence, in a non-disclosure agreement, you agree confidentiality about certain information, and it is binding if it's signed and it meets all the elements of a contract. Now, if you think the other person is going to disclose, sorry, that was my dog. If you think the other person is going to disclose that confidential information, you go to the court and you ask for an injunction. An injunction tells them, do not do that. It's a prohibitory order from the court. Stop doing it. So non-disclosure agreements are usually binding. Here's an example of the passive use of this verb and adjective. Binding is the adjective and to bind is the verb. The parties agreed to be bound by their promises to each other on the day they signed the agreement. The parties agreed to be bound, not binded. It's an irregular verb. the parties agree to be bound. Congratulations, you can now use the word binding like a legal professional. To practice this word and more, you can download a free PDF of part of our A to Z of Business Law book. The link is in the description below. Bye for now.